Sherrod is the moderator.
Sherrod, you're the moderator here, please. He's saying that he's
Okay. Perhaps the state bug system.
That's a good one, Adam.
whose system has been bugged here?
Adam just breathe.
Sherrod said, huh?
Adam, you better be careful there too now, boy. You better be careful.
By at me age. And you think I'm that little boy saying on trouble me in the lockup, I too old. So I get peace and quiet.
Well, I noticed my computer just went too. No, seriously, this is from my cell phone.
Very good afternoon, guys.
Yeah.
Can you folks hear me now?
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Good. All of the folks who have their mics on, could you please turn it off for us? We'd be grateful. Again, welcome to the Alliance for Change press conference. We have with us this afternoon leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan, of course, former Minister of Public Security and Member of Parliament. Currently, we have also Beverly Alert, Member of Parliament, and we have with us, going to be joining us shortly, rather, Kathy Hughes. Kathy is a former minister and chairman of the Alliance for Change. And we have Dr. Vince Adams, a resident expert, all things petroleum, all things oil and gas. First, guys, I have the privilege of asking Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan to present his statement to you, members of the press.
Thank you very much, members of the press, and warm welcome to you this afternoon. The AFC is doing a press release here on PPP's assault on democracy in Guyana. Recently, two severe blows were struck at democratic government and democratic governance within a 2 weeks period by the PPP government. The first happened in Parliament on the 5th of December 2022, when malign amendments to the National Registration Act and the Representation of the People Act were passed, and which pertain to the deletion of the residency qualification to be a voter in Guyana. The government, master of the art of deception and distraction, has effectively subtracted out of Section 62A of the National Registration Act the express requirement which stipulated that the qualifying date who are resident in Guyana. Further, it substituted for this mandatory residency qualification, which is the duty of GCOM to find and file new rights at which registration officers shall receive the application for registration of every person eligible therefore, with an address at the date of the application in the registration division in that district. As regards amendment to the Representation of the People Act, the government has, by substitution of Section 2 of the Amendment Act, knocked off the word resident and replaced same with registered address. And for the words an elector's residence with Guyana, substituting only the words an elector. For this deleted large lot we regard as residency requirement. Of recent time, the second mortal blow, if I may say, by the PPP to democratic government happened on an incident arising on Newmarket Street, Georgetown. It is the vengeful attack on public figures' freedom of expression as enshrined in our Constitution. The PPP government has abused and misused its executive powers in instructing the police to use its prosecutorial powers to charge for offenses under the Cybercrime and Racial Hostility Act. The instances growing in number in recent times has to do with charges against Mayor of Georgetown, Mr. Yuvraj Narain, and APNU AFC parliamentarian Sherrod Duncan. The AFC opines that the words uttered by Mayor can never be described as words to work with him, and why some are bulldozed while others are appeased and placated is fundamentally what must be stated in a democracy by public figures and public officials. And it is in communist states. They have not unlearned anything from their sojourn to equip them with a modicum of liberal tradition. The AFC wishes to emphatically denounce developments by the PPP government. This mortal injury, this mortal wound to government and governance by these two recent instances, which the PPP will not want, which the PPP will want to go unnoticed, must not be allowed to. They are degrading democracy, dismantling governing arrangements, including free and fair elections, and are now judging of democracy. That's my statement to you, members of the press, this afternoon.
Members of the press, I will now call on Party Chairman Kathy Hughes, who I see has joined us, for her statement.
Sorry, Sherrod, could you go to
Dr. Vince Adams. I'll go
Dr.
to
Adams,
Dr. Vince.
please?
Yes, no problem at all. Dr.
Thank you.
Vince, members of the press, Dr. Vincent Adams, who's going to be talking.
But thanks a lot. Thanks to the press for coming once again. I bring your attention to, and I don't know if Ms. Zena Henry from Kaichur News, one of our really great or good journalists. She sent me an article yesterday and asked for my comment, and it was an article out of the archive. As you folks remember, this whole issue about full liability coverage, which is, I don't think that people understand the importance and the critical nature of having coverage for, liability coverage for if something happens. But anyway, so I've been, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart and many others, such as Ms. Henry. But anyway, she sent me the article, and it was in the Starbuck News. It wasn't even her newspapers. It was the Starbuck newspapers, dated July 22nd, 2019, and it talked about everything that I've been saying, that the government You remember I started talking about the $2.5 billion in insurance that was signed, that was brought to me from Mr. Rod Henson, going way back in 2019, as a requirement for me signing the Lisa 2 permit. He brought it to me. I've said this. Mr. Jaglio and Exxon and them said that I dreamt about that. I was making it up. Services. So the point that I'm making here is you get it, on this article, you got it from myself, from the insurance company, and most importantly, from Mr. Rod Henson, who was the time the manager of Exxon. And what it clearly said, there was an insurance policy for $2.5 billion, not the 600 million that they're suddenly talking about. It was 2.5 billion that was there, as verified by myself and Mr. Rod Henson, and of course the insurance part of it by the insurance company, Mr. Samru. And the other thing that was verified here by myself and Mr. Henson was the parent company guarantee to cover anything over and above that 2.5 billion. You remember I keep saying we were having meetings for about a year. My attorney, well, then I say the EPA attorney was meeting with the EPGL's attorney to figure out how the three parent companies were going to share the liability. And that was one of the requests that Rod made. I said this over and over. He said to give them some time so that they can decide how the three companies were going to share that liability. We were having meetings, and as soon as I left, those meetings were abandoned. The attorney, the EPA attorney, was fired because he was the one conducting the negotiation. But it brings what this is telling us here again. It highlights again the pattern of the deceit and lies of this administration, while they kowtow to Exxon and they protect them. And I think the question has to be asked, why are they treating Exxon so special and so differently to our own local businesses? I don't see them protecting our local businesses the way they do. Look, even the little vendors who are trying to eke out a living at Kemraj talked about it. They want to uproot all their stalls and everything. They're just making a few pennies, but they're not going after Exxon. Exxon is violating the laws of the land. Why isn't Mr. Rutledge, locked up for violating the laws of the land? But you're locking up everybody for, not only you're locking them up, really, you're locking them up for expressing their right to free speech in any civil society. You're locking them up for that. But here you have Mr. Rutledge and Exxon violating our laws that they've signed up to. Let me remind folks again, Exxon signed up to having parent company guarantee, a letter, and it doesn't cost them anything, a letter of guarantee saying that, okay, we have insurance, and anything over and above that insurance, we're going to give you a letter of guarantee that we're going to cover it before as a condition for operating. They're operating without that letter of guarantee. If something happens, God forbid something happens, because it looks as if they've got a thing for